So I was reading through this the study that was done that I think it's back from like 2019. I'll provide a link here for you to go check it out. But basically, it was looking at the diets of all animals. Let me take a quick look here. It says the evolution of diet across the animal tree of life is what it actually says. Um, and then you go in and read the article and it explains everything. Basically, it was the deepest study ever done, where it looked all the way back to over 800 million years ago, the the diets of all animal species and so forth. And what it found was largely the majority of animals are carnivorous. Some of them are herbivores, and then very rarely are omnivores. So, it basically said that it is very rare in the animal kingdom to have an animal that is actually omnivore, that eats both plants and animals. It's funny because, a good portion of us humans believe that we should eat both plants and animals. Um, So that's very, very rare in the animal kingdom. Most of them are pretty much carnivore or they are herbivore. Uh, the other interesting thing is there are not any big dietary shifts throughout time unless it was over a fairly long period of time for a specific reason. Like global warming type of thing at that time frame in the planet, that they slowly started to slightly change their diet a little bit. Um, but most of the things that were more short term type of changes in diet that happened were really man made. Either humans changing to eating more of a omnivore type of diet instead of carnivore type of diet, carnivorous type of diet. Um, there were certain types of animals that were moved to a particular region in the world that they uh, did not exist before, and we observed as humans, both moving them, that their diet changed. Obviously, their diet changed because things were different there than what it was. So that's another example. And then, like, another example would be like taking like dogs and cats, for instance. We've completely changed their diets as as pets of ours from what they used to be. They used to pretty much eat carnivore, and it was like raw meat and that they would eat. Um, we changed into giving them a more of a processed food type of thing. And yes, it is an omnivore thing, right? There's you look at the dog food and the cat food out there. There's your different types of fish, your meats like chicken, turkey, stuff like that, maybe even beef and vegetables and stuff in this mix, of kibble that we basically make for pets, for our pets, our dogs and our cats. And the funny thing about it is the life expectancy has gone down on dogs and cats. They don't live as long as they used to, as we've created more of this fake processed kibble for them to eat. Um, and you look at humans, and I think the interesting thing here is that the technology that we've had, the medical breakthroughs we've had, that our life expectancy has not gone up to the point that it should. And I think it has a lot to do with that we, for some reason, believe that we can change our diet. Like all of these animals in the animal kingdom, they instinctively eat a certain way. That's how they eat. Um, and we used to be that way, but because we are a bit different in that our brains are so much bigger and smarter. I shouldn't say necessarily bigger because our animals have bigger brains, but we've got pieces in our brain and certain parts of our brain that other animals don't have, that allow us to have that better reasoning and so forth, right? And we use this reasoning to our advantage in many things, and sometimes it's to our disadvantage. We, for some reason, believe that we can make better food than what instinctively is out there for us to eat. And therefore, we have created all this food. We've created these processed foods and so forth. And really, a fairly short period of time, 100 years or so, in terms of the really processed foods, probably less than 100 years. And it is hurting us. Like, we really should be living longer than we are. And, we're actually getting to a point that's interesting, that we are starting to, our life expectancy is starting to look like it's going to be going down a little bit, which should not be happening with the type of technology and, medical technology and everything that we have the ability to do different surgeries and keep people alive and so forth. That should not be happening. But let's look at another thing with this, right? There are a lot of diseases out there that humans have, and even our pets, our dogs and our cats get, different things that you just don't see in other animals that have not changed their diets. They have not changed to kibble or processed food that's not real type of things, right? Um, we're talking about like some different cancers. Uh, we're talking about things like, kidney failures, stuff like that, that happens in animals, it happens in humans. We have a lot of things, diabetes and so forth, that happen that did not really happen before, especially at the rate that it happens now. And if you go back to even before the agricultural revolution, you have to wonder. I don't know, I haven't seen enough about studies and so forth, if there even was any instances of diabetes at all. I know people are going to say, well, no, they didn't know what diabetes was back then. But, if you can find mummified bodies, you can actually, you know, figure out things about them. Like, for instance, they have found, like with the Egyptians, for instance, that they ate a lot of grains and so forth, and their bodies definitely had diabetes, and that they've been able to find that from the mummified bodies. So, it's just interesting that these types of diseases are there for humans, for dogs, for cats. And these are the animals that we have changed the diet for, that they're not really eating the instinctive diet that they were eating in the beginning, that they were meant to be eating. And I think that's something that really should be looked at, and you should really look at and think about and ponder, because this is a common sense thing. Like, I don't understand, and I was fooled my pretty much my entire life, but I don't understand at this point how we think that we can make up this food, and this food is good for us, better for us than what we have instinctively eaten for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Animals for millions and millions of years have been eating instinctively a certain way, and they don't change from it. You might want to go out and say, okay, well, that's because they're stupid. They're not smart like we are. But in terms of common sense, it makes no sense that we would just change our diets because we can do so. Like, we change from we're eating a certain way because it's needed to survive and so forth, into we have made eating a entertainment for us and so forth. And we want stuff that tastes good. We can make this to taste better, taste good, all this kind of stuff. And in reality, we're really just hurting ourselves instead of eating what was the instinctive food for us, just like any other animal in the animal kingdom.